Hey guys, thanks for coming. Just a couple comments. We had our picture day. Just had, I believe, 8 practices. This next week is tough. We got 9 practices in 6 days. So the 2013 Ohio State Buckeyes will be determined by this week coming up. We move over to Ackerman Fields, and there's a lot of reasons why we do it, but the most importantly is you have to feel bad before you feel good and appreciate what you got. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we do it. And then just the whole, I would like to kind of go away, but that's hard to do, you know, with all your video equipment, all your teaching facilities we have here. So that's why we do it. And the university's been gracious enough to let us use Ackerman Fields, and they're in pretty good shape, as good a shape as we want them. And then we come back. So once again, you have 9 practices coming up. The longer I'm in this 27th year, is I really do think the NCAA has done a good job managing practices as far as not being able to go back-to-back 2-a-days. So we've done a lot of thought went into our practice schedules to make sure that we treat the players the right way and still get a team ready to go, which is much more complicated than it's ever been, just with the safety of players. We're going to have an official come in on I want to say Monday or Tuesday, and he's going to discuss the new rule about the targeting of players and the ejection. We had one in practice already that a player would have got thrown out of the game. The official told me, and I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Every player on our team has an app on their, a video on their iPad that talks to them about the safety of tackling, and that's real. I think that's going to really be, when he said that, when the official came up and goes, he's out, and I thought it was I didn't see that, and then we went back, and I think it would have been a matter of fact, we took that play and sent it to a group of officials, and they're going to report back to us when they come in from the Big Ten office on, I think it's Monday or Tuesday. I can't exactly know, but just think about that. That's a game changer. And what's been told to us is we want to go into players low, not obviously above the. So I'm still learning it, as well as I think the whole college football world will be. I don't want to say surprised, but that's not one to just go, okay, what's the next new rule? That's a big one. And so a lot of teaching, a lot of conversations going on. You start getting your players thrown out of a game for playing a game of football. You know, like that hit, I look at it and I'm like, now was that really, it wasn't a targeting, lunging into a guy, which I agree with, but it's just simply the guy caught the ball and there was contact made. So I just want to make sure we do a good job teaching and make sure we do a good job of that. Quarterback Braxton had a very good scrimmage yesterday. Mechanically, he is much further ahead. We had Larry Karras, a good friend of mine, come visit our practice yesterday, and I just was talking to him, and obviously the man knows a lot of football, and he commented to me about just his comfort in the pocket and his mechanics. So Braxton has worked very hard. I was very impressed. There were some time throws in the scrimmage yesterday that there's no way that would have occurred unless they threw this summer. And so I really believe if we continue to develop a receiver, which we are, we have our top 3 guys. Philly, Evan Spencer's having his best camp. Much different player than he was a year ago. And Devin Smith are our top 3 guys going into it. 2 very good tight ends. And then we got some other skilled athletes with the Jordan Hall and then the tailback position, which is, we have some depth there. The D-line is the offensive line. Taylor Decker has solidified himself as a starting candidate right now. If we were to play tomorrow, he's a starting right tackle. Andrew Norwell had a little plantar fasciitis issue, which he should be back Monday or Tuesday. He's fine. And Corey Lindsley still has a little sore foot from spring, but he'll be fine as well. He should start going, I think, Monday, Tuesday as well. So we haven't had all 5 guys in there together at once, and I'm anxious to do that because I think we could. That was a strength of our team a year ago, was our offensive line. Running back, I will go through running back. We have some depth, and that's a good thing. That's the best form of motivation, is recruit really well, and then when they show up, they have good players, and that's what they have. There's not a miss in that running back group. And you got Briante Dunn, you got Warren Ball, you got Jordan Hall, you got Dontre Wilson, you got Ezekiel Elliott, I believe. Is that it? If I missed one, I apologize. It's just we have good depth there right now. And that's going to give us some flexibility. Like Jordan Hall is going to be playing some H, a lot of H as well. So that's given us some depth. Rod Smith, I'm sorry, yes. Rod Smith's having an excellent camp. Yeah, there's no reason to. I just can read the headline. Urban Meyer forgot Rod Smith. I did not forget Rod Smith. Rod Smith's doing just fine. Doing just fine. Get a phone call from his family. Rod Smith is doing very good, Tim. Okay, he's having a good camp. Just want to clarify that. On defense, the guy, the defensive line has done. Mike Vrabel, you know, he's attacking coaching the same way he attacked playing as a pro. You don't survive as long as he did in the National Football League unless you got an extremely good work ethic and very professional about your job. And he's a first-year defensive line coach, and you can tell he's a very experienced defensive line coach now. So I'm seeing some progress in technique and some of the things that we expect, and it has to happen. We just don't have very many older guys. I was looking at our middle two, our nose and our tackle. None of them are seniors. There's 6 of them right now, and they're all back. So I expect those guys to really develop. And the inside guys are Joel Hale and Mike Bennett. And then you have Tommy Shutt is really pushing those other 2 for a starting spot. And then you got Chris Carter, Billy Price, and a kid named Mike Hill who's coming on. I will announce Donovan Munger has qualified. Am I saying that right? He has qualified. He'll be here Wednesday. He has a health issue. He had a blood clot, so he will not play this fall. So he's not been cleared to play, but he's going to be in school, and I believe he gets here this week. He's had a good day. He's had a good day yesterday, and he's shown some leadership. The Mike linebacker is Curtis Grant, and he's backed up by Mike Mitchell right now and Joe Berger. That's how we're going to go at that spot. And they're doing good. They're doing good. Nickel is going to be right now Tyvis Powell, and then the Sam linebacker is Josh Perry. And then you know the safeties and corners. They're doing good. Our Australian, I don't know if they had a chance to meet him yet?
Today.
You get a chance to talk to the man from the Outback. He's a very talented young man. He's 21 years old, played Australian rules football. He is a really talented punter, and he's going to give us some flexibility. He's very athletic. He's fast, and he can get on the, you know, I didn't know this until I watched him do it, but the way they pass in Australian rules football is they kick it to him. So he can, if you want to run a square in, he can probably hit you on a punt. He's really a talented guy. But just is a joy to, he's really fun to coach. You'll have some fun with him today. Drew Basil's doing really good. He's a stud. He's a grown man playing the game of college football, which is kind of fun to coach. Anything else? Any questions for me? Returner? There's a plethora. We're good right now. I remember there was a time last year where we're looking for returners and we couldn't find any. Now there's a fight for them. And I think Jordan Hall, Dontre Wilson, Roby, James Clark is a guy that I don't know if I mentioned. He's doing very well, very talented guy. And Philly Brown is the punt returner, but he's also got some pressure behind him because we got some guys that return. I'd be really disappointed if our return game's not really good this year, which I would grade it very poor in the kickoff return last year. And punt return pretty good. I think we hit 2, and we expect more than that.
Bill.
I know as a coach you just think about the next rep, the next practice, but how different is the feeling around here knowing that everything is available for that whole game and that championship?
I don't feel it, Bill. I think that's a good question today that you'll ask the players, and I did meet with the players. That I want to make sure that you get some young. We are going to let the freshmen speak, and usually freshmen don't. They just instead of thinking it through. And so our goal is to compete for championships in November. And the cool thing was last year, after they told us we could, that was the same goal we had a year ago. So I don't feel it. I imagine it's when it's away from us, they hear chatter, but it's to compete for a championship in November. So I really don't feel a different pulse. I think that's a credit to last year's group too. They just went about their business, and it was kind of refreshing to do that, be around that.
Urban, you referenced Jordan playing a lot at H. Without him a year ago, or maybe some other guys with that game-breaking speed that you look for, did that position, as you envision it, really exist last year?
No, we put Philly, and Philly's a good player. Philly is a receiver, though, and he's playing receiver now. H is more that hybrid guy. The guy can do some things, and Jordan Hall's our best candidate to do that right now. Because you have to be able to have the ability to catch the ball and do some of those things, and the quickness and a little bit of gamesmanship. And that's one of the things about Jordan Hall. He's a very smart player, so he gives us that spot.
How much of the offense maybe was missing then?
Yeah, it was all. I mean, that whole part of the offense didn't exist, which is tough. If you evaluate last year's offense, we were pro offense. there was not a lot of read components. Does that make sense? The whole equate numbers equation where there's one extra guy in the box, you read one, where there's second level, first level, which is kind of the essence of what spread football is, really didn't exist for us. Now, we did run some single wing, which means we direct snap the quarterback, and one of our best plays was a quarterback counter because he was our best player, and you had to use him. So you'll see a different style of offense this year if we stay healthy in these next 9 practices. Excuse me.
Urban, Braxton's obviously a front runner for the Heisman, and you talked a lot about his development as a player. I'm just curious, a lot of pressure for a young guy. Can you talk about his development as a person since you've been here, and
Yeah.
is he prepared for that?
I got to be careful because I just glow. I love Braxton Miller. Him and Tom Herman got something really special going right now. You can see it on the field. You can see his maturity, like Bob mentioned. I'm just anxious when you guys get a chance to visit with him. He just seems to be. I've heard that from some people. He's a different guy. He's never been a bad guy. He's always been a great guy. But he's got a little confidence to him. That whole Gruden football camp, where I think what a teach tool. We actually used that this summer with him to see the RG3, Andrew Luck's, and some of those guys, the way they handle every person ever wants a quarterback. I call it the most unique position in sport, where you can't be you're allowed to be a little introverted, but you have to be able to lead. And he's doing I don't want to give him an A yet, but he's pushing A work as far as I saw it yesterday, because the offense really struggled early in the scrimmage, and he just kind of started managing it. Wasn't always the coach managing it. So he's really grown in that respect. And if he does, Bob, I'm just saying this, if he does, that's a special player.
Urban, a year ago you were coming to a place you hadn't been in 25 years, new team, new league that you didn't know very well as you had been head coach. This year, how do your expectations change? What do you look for now?
I've always, this might be hard to imagine, but we really are a one game at a time. I've always been a one game at a time coach, because I've been on staffs where all of a sudden you're looking at something other than the next game, and you wake up in the morning with a loss. And that, I don't want to say that horrifies me, but that motivates me. That's my mindset, and a lot of times the team's mindset is that of the head coach, and that's I really don't feel that much different than we did last year. I'm not worrying about the third game, the fifth game. Obviously, there's one game really important on our schedule, but that's in November. So that's one that does occupy some thought. But we are really focused on getting to August 31st, and that's no different than it was a year ago. What we do on today, we have something called a Buckeye Experience, where we'll have some former players come in and talk about the great traditions of Ohio State. The Buckeye Leaves, the senior tackle, Buckeye Grove, the Victory Bell, all the fight song. The band director is going to come in tonight, and those are. I think that's a little different, because it's been so long since I've been back here. But that now, it's not. It's a special place, and I want our players to own it, not rent it. I want them to own it, take share. Stock in Ohio State, not be a one and done type player, because that's not how you win games.
Front row right, Tim?
A couple of quickies. Number one, is Najee Murray still a part of this team? There was a report out yesterday that possibly he had moved on.
He's suspended right now, just a training camp issue.
Number two, lots been made early about Dontre Wilson. Do you now project him as playing? What do you see about him that you like, and just touch on how important maybe the next 9 days are for him?
Really important. He's a running back. Someone was asking me, is he playing wide receiver? No, he's a running back. Now, he also has a unique skill set where he's extremely dynamic and fast, which we all know what that means in the game of football, and especially in an offense where you try to create space. So he has certainly had his black stripe removed last night. I think him and Mike Mitchell did, right? Mike Mitchell had it taken off, and Ezekiel Elliott was right there, but he laid one on the ground. So we've done a good. Last year's class was good.
Does Dontre bring something that you didn't have last year?
Oh my gosh,
like
yeah.
We talked about a while ago about the perfect.
Yeah. Here's the way we evaluate offense. Get the player to the second level, and then recruit your tail off. And then the second level, then you see that crazy stuff that God bless these incredible athletes with, and that's called big hits. We were not a big hit team last year. We got to the second level, and a lot of times the second level made the tackle. And that's which is good. I mean, I think we led the Big Ten in scoring, but it's not to our standard. That's not what we're expecting.
Couple more, because players and assistants are coming. Front row, Kenny.
Urban, how do you as the head coach manage the expectations for this team? Preseason number 2, coming off the 12-0 season. These are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. They're hearing this. How do you make sure they don't get too full of themselves and read the headlines too much and keep them on an even keel?
Well, you look at the history, someone said back in, what was it? I was here in '87, started the season. We're preseason number 2 in America after a big win in a Cotton Bowl. And it was a good taste around those big, so this part wasn't existing, but I was here. And obviously, our staff got let go, and it wasn't a very positive year. There were some teams last year that had very high expectations, and it didn't make it. And it's not because of bad coaches, it's not because of bad players, it's because of distraction. And you just try to create a culture, and you're nonstop. As much conversation as we spend about X's and O's, I spend a lot of time talking about that. And we don't let just like today or tomorrow's going to be another practice number 9. It's not just another practice. We're not just letting another day go by. Don't let number 9 go without getting better and staying focused on what your job is. So it's just nonstop because, our clientele is 18 to 21-year-olds. And if you kind of recall, they kind of get distracted. We're just going to make sure we stay focused. That is a great question, and that's the essence of this season, is if we can stay. And when I say create the culture, that culture is driven by leaders. Last year's culture was driven by leaders. Well, the head coach didn't do anything. The leaders of that team really did a good job. I'm seeing some very good leadership, like we talked about number 5, and number 10, Shazier, Christian Bryant, C.J. Barnett, and then the offensive line. So I'm starting to feel it, but I could talk about that all day because in November, that's going to find out. How's your season going, Coach? Well, if our leadership's good and there's no distractions, I think we'll be all right. If we have distractions, we'll be an average team.
Middle left, Bill.
Urban, you talk, first of all, is Wilson consideration for that H-back spot at all? Also, just the speed component.
Yeah, I'm not sure his skill set is perfect for the H as far as receiver, because I mean, it could be. It could be.
Speed overall.
We're faster. We're a faster team. I mean, you'll see. I hope you see that in 3 weeks. We're a faster team. We're, because you try to stretch. We did not. If in theory, what is a spread offense? It has a read component, and you force the defense to defend 53 1/3 yards. The Ohio State Buckeyes did not do that a year ago. Didn't have to defend it. And then obviously you got the vertical component and that's all speed. That's creating space and guys in space doing the things with the ball. And I'm seeing more of that. Like Evan Spencer right now is playing much faster than he did a year ago.
2 more questions. Doug?
Urban, when you have a team that had success last year and has a lot of guys back, what is the expectation or the hope with the freshman class in taking a team from this level to that level? Is that
Well, the 06 team did that in Florida. The 06 team injected a bunch of speed and playmakers into that 2006 team. I see very similar qualities. That's the only, that's one of those classes that you watch our practice, you're like, you look again and see what number that is. And I feel that same way, certainly on offense, that I feel a little bit of a jolt. That's really going to help us. Our theory is you don't redshirt, you play. We're not saving them. Guys go play. We recruit you. We tell you you're going to play, and if you don't play, it's because you're not good enough. It's not because we're saving you for 5 years down the road. That's a little different with linemen. Because linemen like Evan Lyles is going to be a very fine player, but he's just not physically ready yet. But the skilled athlete, Garyon Conley is a guy that's made an impact already. There's a chance he could be on the field for us. You got Cam Burrows and Eli Apple. So we got some guys that are, and once again, if they play, we're not holding them back.
Last question. Dave?
How's Devon Bogard been medically cleared, Coach?
Yeah, he had a little hyperextension, so his hamstring, I think he missed 2 days. He should be ready to go tomorrow.
Coach Paul, Von Bell's, he also factored
Yeah.
in that star position. Can you talk about him?
Yeah, he is. He's got to get more physically developed. Wonderful kid. He's going hard. He's not big enough right now to. We're not sure if that's his spot or we'll move him, but he's going very hard.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.